three things that give us an advantage. One would be selection. It's who we hire. They'll often say, if I'm going to teach an animal to climb a tree, do I train a horse or hire a squirrel? Well, squirrels are naturally gifted at climbing trees. Even if the horse is Kentucky Derby winner or whatever, he can't climb the tree. And number two would be truth. One of my favorite authors is John Maxwell. He wrote a book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. My favorite chapter is Care Enough to Confront. I often say in our business, the relationship with our team begins at confrontation. That's really showing love for your people when you can speak truth into them and help them be better. The other day I walk into the ice cream shop and I go, are all of the waffle cones fresh? Are they all crispy? And she goes, yeah, we just made them. So I walked over to the cabinet and every single one of them was stale. I said, taste these. I got pretty dramatic and I took them all out and I threw them in the trash. And I said, I want every single one of these made. And I said, don't ever tell me an answer unless you know 100% that it's accurate. People, Christians today, sensitivity. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, hey, life's hard, buddy. It ain't easy. Ain't nothing easy. It's hard being successful. It's hard being not successful. Pick your hard.
My name is Skylar Lewis, and I've helped thousands of men and their families step into their God-given potential. And this podcast is all about that. We bring on some of the highest performing men in the areas of faith, family, fitness, and finances, where they share their success principles, they share their struggles, they share the specific things that they have done to build a life of abundance and kingdom impact. Don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get to the episode.
For this next podcast, I'm super excited to introduce Marty B, who is a restaurant pro. He's built 6 restaurants in the last 6 years. He has 4 under construction, been married for 29 years, 3 kids, loves God, and is just doing an incredible work in business and in life and in the community. And we have a great conversation on this podcast around all kinds of cool topics, how to be a great leader in business. He shares vulnerably about some of his past, and it's really a very inspiring conversation. So grateful to have you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Tickled to be here.
I'm excited to have you. It's funny. We go to your restaurant so often. It's one of the best restaurants out in the area, and beautiful venue. And so it's cool to finally have you on the podcast, because I know you're everybody knows you in this town, right? You've built there's great companies, and we were having a conversation just before the show. You have the Cowboy Creed, which is in one of your bathrooms at your restaurant. And you were just talking to me about kind of the cowboy, we didn't get into it, but the cowboy lifestyle. So what is that?
Yeah, and I think, I grew up, I'm a stereotypical Texan, unlike you, Skylar. So I grew up on a ranch, a working ranch. We rodeoed all through high school. We worked cattle, we fixed fence, we baled hay. And we did a lot of that growing up. And so one of the things that I love about kind of the cowboy lifestyle is it really embodies hard work. It embodies faith. It embodies commitment to your family. And so we created the Cowboy Creed that you just referenced that we have in the restaurant. And it basically kind of highlights, what that looks like. How do you live that out in our daily life? And it's just really the courtesies that have kind of been forgotten. Tipping your hat to the ladies, saying yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, yes, sir, and no, sir. And, recognizing that there's a power higher than us, and that power is God. And so just kind of living by those things kind of gives me a sense of confidence, and kind of creates just a good environment that keeps, our life in order. Our God is the God of order. Yes. And so having, I always say the alignment would be God, family, and work. It's kind of been how I've tried to live my life. And so it just kind of gives, credibility to what we believe in our business, and then, kind of share that with people when they go into the restaurant. It's kind of cool.
It's great. Yeah, I love it. And we were talking about why I moved from California out here, and the culture's different. Just the people are different, right? The kids saying, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. It was kind of wild, right? Growing up in California, that's unheard of. So it's, there's kind of a level of disrespect I almost feel towards elders in California. And so out here people that there's a higher level of respect for anybody that, right? For parents, for just the way kids interact with adults. It's just wild. And yeah, you feel that culture. And so it's interesting. So you grew up right in the cowboy kind of lifestyle. And so tell me, because you've built. So how many restaurants do you have right now?
Right now I have 6 open, and then I have 4 in the pipeline, 4 under construction. And we started Marty B's in 2017. Okay. And really, you've been there, Skylar. So when you walk up, it's a pretty big place. Yeah. We seat 1,200. Wow. And so the concept was to create kind of like a hill country setting. And if you've been down to Austin or San Antonio, you'll see a lot of the elements there that I built at Marty B's, the Austin stone, the white stone, the cedar. So the main goal was to create a place for people to come kind of escape their life and disconnect from the world, but to connect with their friends and family. And so what I love about Marty B's is, we serve my 3 favorite foods: steak, Tex-Mex, barbecue. And then we do live music 3 nights a week. And we created lots of different areas to enjoy the space so that, again, you can really connect with whoever you're there with. On the weekends with the music we can do, you can book a cabana, the upper, the lower suite. We've got a rooftop. We host events at the rooftop. I do my men's Bible breakfast up there once a month. And we do our women's Bible breakfast. We just had our second one on Tuesday. We had 400 women there. It was incredible.
Wow.
And so we view our business as really our ministry. And we've really kind of embraced that. And I really try to be very creative and intentional with how we incorporate faith into our business. And, I think most people today, they'll go to church on Sunday, and that's about the most amount of faith you will sometimes see in their life. And so our position is, and one of the reasons we did the men's Bible breakfast was to create a space for men to come together and live out their faith in their daily life. Then on Sunday, it's a celebration of all they've done throughout the week to display their faith. And so at our business, we recognize the platform we have, number one. Number two, we recognize the way that we model behavior, the way we serve our customers, the way we honor and serve our staff, really may be the only Bible people see when they come to our business, right? And it's not so much in what we say. In fact, I've heard, it's important to teach the Bible, and every now and then you can use words, right? And so modeling what we do is important. But yeah, so Marty B's was in 2017, and it's, been awesome.
It seems like a very successful restaurant.
Been great.
Yeah.
We opened Rustico in 19, our wood-fired grill. We opened 1845 in 20.
By the way, that is my favorite steakhouse.
It's awesome.
I absolutely love that restaurant. Okay, keep going.
Thank you.
Well, it's just wild how many, to be successful at one restaurant, very difficult in general, right? To build multiple very successful restaurants in such a short period of time is kind of somewhat miraculous, unless you are the restaurant guru. It's just wild.
I appreciate that, Skylar. Yeah. We have done a lot in the 6 years we've started. It's basically 6.
I can't believe it's only been 6 years.
One a year, but my background is in restaurants. I was in restaurants for 26 years.
Yeah.
And then so people go, "Oh my gosh, you opened this restaurant and you're so successful. How lucky are you?" I go, "Well, yes, I do consider myself lucky, but for 26 years I grinded. I sacrificed time away from my family, blood, sweat, and tears, making other organizations successful. And then I just felt like, well, it was maybe time for me to do something on my own."
Yeah.
So then we opened Marty B's Coffee in 22, Marty B's To Go in 22, and then we just opened Marty B's Ice Cream last month.
Yeah.
And then we've got, we're building a coffee shop inside of Fellowship Church, Marty B's Coffee. We started on it a couple of weeks ago. It'll be open in early August. Branded Bowls is under construction, literally right up here.
And that's one I'd love to do some catering or work, because we have 2 to 3 events a month, 2 to 4 events per month here. And so we got to work out something.
It's going to be the ideal thing for that, rice and salad bowl concept. And then Cactus Canyon, as you know, is under construction. It's scheduled to open in November. And then we have the wedding venue right next to Marty B's Event Center that's starting this next month. And
Yeah.
So we're
So good.
excited, and
So good.
people go, well, do you get tired? I go, well, honestly, I really view my business really, not only is it a business, but I really enjoy it. It's kind of a hobby too. And so just like you find so much joy and satisfaction in helping other people reach their goals. And we find joy and satisfaction in giving people a place to come and celebrate life.
What do you think has made these so successful? So we have a lot of entrepreneurs, right, that listen to this podcast, and so just from a tactics and some strategy, like what have you done? It sounds like it definitely has God's blessing on it.
Totally.
And what have you done that you feel like these are some ways that really have differentiated ourselves or have created some of the success that you experience?
Yeah, I really believe, as I've thought about it, I really think it's three things that give us an advantage. One would be selection. It's who we hire. In fact, I'll often say, if I'm going to teach an animal to climb a tree, do I train a horse or hire a squirrel? Well, squirrels are naturally gifted at climbing trees. Even if the horse is a Kentucky Derby winner or whatever, he's in great shape, whatever, he can't climb the tree. And so we're seeking people that have a natural smile, little pep in their two-step, as I say, someone that's just genuinely personable, and then we can teach them how to do anything from that point. So one is selection. Number two would be truth. I find that the more truthful we are to our team, the better they perform, the better their attitudes. And so we're very good at holding our team accountable. In fact, one of my favorite authors is John Maxwell. He wrote a book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And my favorite chapter is Care Enough to Confront. And so I often say in our business, the relationship with our team begins at confrontation. And so until you really invested in the person and confronted them on an issue, whatever it is, that's really showing love for your people when you can speak truth into them and help them be better. And I've never, Skylar, ever said, hey, I hope to give you some feedback on your performance. Would you be okay if I told you exactly what I'm thinking? No one's ever said, no, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Everyone always says, yeah, I'd love to know what I could work on and get better.
It's great that you start with that question. One of my favorite questions, are you open to feedback?
Yeah.
And that's what I say, hey, are you open to some feedback? And then I'm able to share. And nobody says no, right? But it kind of drops their walls where they're like, okay, well, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, you're doing it from, you care, number one, right? You're confronting the issue because you care about it. In fact, the greatest gift we'll often get in the restaurant business is a complaint. What I fear most is someone having a complaint and not saying anything. Yeah. Because then we don't get an opportunity to improve or address it. And then, truth.
On that feedback, that note though, or the truth, that's very powerful. There's a book called Principles by Ray Dalio, and he's built an entire organization based off of just transparency and truth, right? Being like speaking, because you could, the organizations that can speak truth, that can be direct, can move a lot faster than organizations where there's you have to watch what you say and you can't give feedback and you can't work through issues, or it takes months to work through issues. Like if you can work through an issue and just move through it, you can move a lot faster.
So much faster.
Which is what you've done, right? All the restaurants that you've built in 6 years, it's quite incredible the speed at which you're doing it. So you're able to move quick, and that's kind of what we did with Rise Up Kings too. It's also, I have a company we just sold in California called Superior Restoration. It's a water and fire restoration. We built that up to like $13 million company. Wasn't planning on selling it. We just got an amazing offer, which was cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, that company was built off that same kind of philosophy of truth, of being able to give feedback and help people improve. But there also needs to be a culture of trust and care that person actually.
That's right. And that's really an interesting point you bring up, because at the end of the day, there are certain things I wouldn't say to someone that I don't have a relationship with, right? When you have a relationship with someone and you've really been able to connect with them, it gives you a freedom to be able to say things to them that they need to hear. Yeah. And as much as we provide truth, I want to hear the truth too. I mean, I'm not perfect. If there's things I need to improve on, I want people to tell me. And so the two things that really guide our business, the two questions we ask is, how do we make the experience amazing for our team? And we're constantly asking that question. And then secondly, how do we make the experience amazing for our customer? And so if you're constantly waking up every morning with those two questions, I don't know how we could be stopped, honestly. And so I always tell our team, there isn't anything that is off the table. If there's an idea that we can do to make things better for both our customer and our employees, we need to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just very intentional about that. And then, the third thing I would say would be accountability. It's good to have truth, but if you have truth without accountability, then you don't maintain order.
Yeah.
And this probably isn't popular for me to talk about, and I'm not picking on companies that have a great HR department, but I believe there are two facets to an HR department. I think there's the administrative role of an HR where you're hiring, you're firing, you're doing benefits, you're doing vacations, you're doing the administrative role of processing people, right? And then the other, the tricky part, I think, with HR, and there's some great HR companies out there, and there's some great organizations that have great culture. There's some other companies out there where the HR department's really become the grievance department.
Yeah.
They've become the complaint department. And then what ends up happening, those people that are complaining and have grievances are usually people should have never been hired. And then those people that complain and provide grievance then end up being people that are dictating policy to all the other people that are amazing. And then you end up creating an environment where people don't tell the truth because they're fearful that there could be backlash, that it could compromise their standing or position in the company. And I've worked for a company where I experienced that. And it really kind of robs you of your gumption or your conviction for the brand. And so I just believe that if you have an issue with someone, the best way to solve that is just talk to the person you have an issue with.
Yeah.
If you need someone to help you guide through the conversation, great. But,
Yeah, we brought on an HR manager, and it was at Superior. We brought it on kind of definitely prematurely. It was a good test, and it was it was interesting. The culture started to shift where people felt like now they were able to have somebody that they could kind of go complain to, which was quite interesting versus just bringing it up to their boss and addressing it directly. And so we believe in HR, but it depends on what type of person you hire.
That's right.
Right. The HR person that's hired is critical because it could be for those listening, that could be one of the most challenging roles. Like we've seen people get blackmailed from their HR because their HR person knows the darkest, the secrets of the business, and just, they know a lot. And so if you get someone that's either very negative or bitter or resentful, it's a critical position. And I personally believe leadership of companies don't put enough thought maybe into who they hire for that role. Yeah.
I'm in a place now where I feel like I'm gonna hire someone, but it won't be in HR.
How many employees do you have?
Over 600.
600, yeah.
And
so you don't have an HR.
We don't have an HR. Now we have people that help on board and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm considering hiring a chaplain.
Yeah.
Someone that could be available, maybe a spiritual counselor that could, meet people where they are, And I recognize, life is ugly sometimes. And, if I'm an employee, the last person I want to take my problem to is my boss. But if there's a resource we could provide that stays confidential, that they could maybe share some challenges they're dealing with, and I think that could add value.
There's a place called Marketplace Chaplains, one of the largest Christian-based chaplain organizations out there. If you ever decide, they have a great setup. It sounds like you want somebody full-time. They do great contract work.
Maybe at some point. I think in the beginning it might be, part-time, but maybe there's a need, maybe there isn't, but I think it's smart for a business to be considering that.
Right before we sold Superior, we were looking into bringing a chaplain. I got recommended from a guy, Jim Franklin, a great mentor of mine, and he brought a chaplain in, non-Christian organization, right? But he was a Christian guy, but he just, like his leadership team, he was developing to be Christian, but he brought this chaplain in, and the chaplain is just there. They're not overtly Christian. They're all Christian chaplains, but it's more, right? They're not overt about it, but they're there to support people with issues, with challenges, someone that dies within someone's family. Like there's any challenges, they're there, and then they get a chance to share the gospel when the timing's right.
Sure.
So you can have a team of non-Christians that they get to feel the love of someone that's stepping in and caring and saying, how can I help you and support you in this time of need?
I love
really
it.
Really valuable. Yeah.
I can see that, and I certainly believe you have to have some resource.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing that you got
people.
to that amount of employees though without a.
Well, I don't know. I don't, just for the record, I don't plan to have an HR.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got right culture and you hire the right people.
Yeah.
I worked at Outback Steakhouse for 12 years, and we had, I think, when I left, 500 or 600 restaurants. We didn't have an HR.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
great.
But what that does is it gives who's best to run the company. The leaders of the organization, the people that created the company, through the team of people they select, are best to run the company. And I just think that sometimes an HR person can get too much power and can end up running an organization that they have no idea how to operate.
Agreed.
I mean, there's a lot of things, Skylar, you don't want me running, okay?
Yeah.
But I happen to know a little bit about restaurant business, okay? And part of the reason we've been successful is because of all the mistakes I've made throughout my career. And so through those mistakes, I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And to your point, the pace in which we're opening is pretty, I don't know if it's impressive, but before I started my company, I had opened.
That is impressive. So one a year is very impressive for a restaurant. And it's not the same restaurant.
Not the same. Yeah, I know.
Concepts.
Maybe one day I'll wise up and recreate the same one, but I'm not that smart.
New concepts each year yeah.
But I had opened, 54 restaurants before I started my own company. So people go, you open? Oh, well, yeah. Well, I was used to opening 4 or 5 a year.
You are a pro at this. This is fantastic. And what's neat, I love it. I feel like there needs to be more Christian business leaders that really step into like the way that you're running a business, right? Where you're open about, like, you're having Bible studies, you're having men's studies once a month. Like there's so much going on in our culture. I feel like the way we can have the biggest impact through politics, sure, but also through the way we run businesses.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally agree. And I felt like, like I shared with you earlier, I feel like God's has blessed us. And so we have this amazing platform to be able to kind of minister to people. Yep. And my hope is that, we'll encourage other people to, kind of step out in their faith too and do some things that may be a little uncomfortable. At Marty B's, the month of June, we've declared the month of June faith and family. So I recognize that faith is very important to us. Families are very important. And we know that when we have a strong relationship with Christ and we have a healthy family, we have an amazing society. Mm-hmm. And so part of the challenges we're having in our society and the world right now is you have a lot of families that have separated. You've got kids that are kind of not being held accountable. They're not being told the truth. Yeah. And so if we can create events at Marty B's, which we are, that brings people together to celebrate their faith, that celebrates their families, connect with one another, I mean, that's going to be pretty incredible. Yeah. And I'm eager to see the results of it. We're doing a praise and worship night once a week. We're doing a movie night for the kids.
Oh, that's great.
I got Boot Barn coming out. They're going to do a store. We're going to celebrate fathers, the weekend of Father's Day. We're doing a picnic at my ranch. We're going to invite the community to come out and just have a great meal, hang out, go ride on the side-by-side, go see the sights and sounds, and, just doing some things that are going to celebrate families.
It's great that you're the involvement in the community, that business, the opportunities for business to get involved in the community. Mm-hmm. So impactful, or has the ability to be that impactful. What would you say is one of your most, what was one of the most difficult times that you've gone through in your life?
Yeah. So in October 19th, 1984, my dad had a car accident, and he almost died. But it paralyzed him from the waist down. And he was in the hospital for about 6 months. And so my brother and I, we lived, with different family members throughout that period. And then after my dad got out of the hospital, he was pretty, dependent upon my brother and I to take care of him. We we dressed him, we turned him in the middle of the night, helped bathe him. We
Wow.
did a lot of things. I was 12 at the time. My brother was 10. And then we didn't have any resources. We were on welfare. And so two really humiliating things that happened to me that really kind of changed the trajectory of my life was in 7th grade, they would bring me every Monday a free lunch card, and they'd put it on my desk in front of the whole class. And those are impressionable years, right? You're worried about your hair, you're worried about how you look, your dress. And my brother and I were just wearing our cousin's clothes. We couldn't afford to buy anything new. And then with being on food stamps, when we would go to the store and buy food, we would literally circle the store until no one was at the register, so we could pay without anybody seeing us. And so that really, and I told my dad, I said, that's what happened to you, Dad, may have been the greatest gift ever gave me. And I just I think back and from that moment, I just I don't want to be poor. I want to be able to contribute. I want to be able to add value. And when you aren't in a place to add value to other people or have a skill or anything, it really robs you of your dignity, and your self-respect. And so people that don't have a purpose or maybe don't have a way to add value or provide something of value to society or to someone else, I can see how they could be, you can get self-centered, you can get really defeated. And so it's probably been the thing that drives me the most.
Wow, thank you for being vulnerable, and I can tell there's a lot of emotions still tied into that.
It's interesting. I've told that story so many times, and I don't think I've ever been able to tell it without getting emotional. It's still raw, and so I grew up with a lot of hardships. There's a lot of other challenges we had, but I'm grateful for those, and it's one of the reasons that I think I have a lot of faith, and I'm not very fearful. I'm pretty fearless. I fear God. Yeah. Number one thing I fear, but it gives me confidence, and I'm not afraid of pain. I'm not afraid of failure, because I've endured a lot of pain. Yeah. And there's a lot of people in the world that haven't experienced a lot of pain, and my heart goes out to them, Skylar, because when it happens, it's not comfortable. Yeah. And a lot of people react a lot of different ways. Ed Young just wrote a book called A Path Through Pain. He and Lisa, they lost their daughter, Lee Beth, and they really could have handled that a number of different ways, and they chose to handle it in a really a God-honoring way. And then Matt Chandler, my pastor at the Village, just wrote a book called The Overcomers. And it's a compelling book, about overcoming adversity. That's what life is. It is. We have adversity every day.
The challenge is when people, their perspective on adversity, right? So we have some shirts that we have that are one of our most popular shirts. It says "Pain is the path," totally. And we wrote that because pain is the pathway to a deeper level of maturity, a deeper level of perseverance, a deeper level of connection with God. It's like almost all great things come from the pain that we've experienced if our perspective's right. Now, if we go victim on it and we see this stuff happen to us, and this is the worst thing that could have happened to us, we stay trapped in resentment and bitterness.
Totally, you're right.
Right?
100%.
And so the perspective on it's so critical. And so that's part of what Ruck is we're training guys to have a different relationship with pain, to where they see pain and they go, oh, this is the path, this is beneficial. There's some benefit to the pain that I've experienced. And we have a saying, your mess becomes your message. The thing that you've gone through that has been the darkest has been the message that you share. So my challenge has been with pornography. Found my first porn magazine when I was 12, struggled with porn. For some reason, it's had its hook on me all the way through my marriage. Even if it was watching it once, twice, 3 times a year, it was still, I couldn't kick it. Yeah, and it was just very difficult. And so that became the thing that as I was overcoming it, that pain was so deep. I mean, even as a kid, I remember as a Christian, watching porn, it's one of the most shameful things. Like, you know, you shouldn't be, but you can't, you just can't stop, or you're not able to. And so I just remember the guilt and the shame tied into that, like deep, deep, dark pain. And I eventually started being open about it, my challenge. And it, like, just my openness created freedom, and started to create freedom in other people where they're like, hey, I actually struggle with that too. And it's when we keep this stuff in the dark that it does the most damage to us. But it's when we can bring out some of these things to the light. That's why I appreciate being vulnerable and sharing that story. It's like when we get this stuff into the light, it creates healing. It creates healing, and then it can become a message that we can serve to help other people. So there's so much power in pain. There's purpose in pain. Yet we do everything we can to avoid pain as human beings.
Well,
right?
you know, Tony Robbins says you make decisions based on two things.
Pain and pleasure. Yep.
Pleasure or avoid pain. And it really is true. And, you know, in my business, I'll sometimes even create opportunities for people to experience pain because I'm trying to teach them, right? If you do something great, I want to recognize that, glorify that, so you repeat it. But if you do something, and I say this, I said this in the meeting yesterday, I never want anybody to feel good for screwing up. You should feel bad. You should feel terrible that you screwed up and then you made a mistake. Now, I'm not going to beat you up forever about it, but I want you to remember that that wasn't right. And I'll give you an example. So my daughter works for me, Michaela. She's 25 years old. She's our training and development director. She's helped me inspired the coffee shop, her idea. And then she's helped me open the ice cream shop. Well, the other day I walk into the ice cream shop and I go, are all of the waffle cones fresh? Are they all crispy? Which is important, right?
Yep.
And she goes, yeah, we just made them. So I walked over to the cabinet and every single one of them was stale. I said, Michaela, if I ask you a question, know the answer, okay? I said, taste these. And so I got pretty dramatic, and I took them all out and I threw them in the trash. And I said, I want every single one of these made. And I said, don't ever tell me an answer unless you know 100% that it's accurate. And the other little manager was standing there right beside her. And so I reminded them of that yesterday. And I said, I bet you will never, ever serve a stale ice cream cone again. They're like, we will never sell.
That's
right?
great.
But sometimes you have to inflict a little pain on people.
Yeah, that was purposeful. You were doing that intentionally.
It was purposeful, exactly. But it was also lovingly. Right? Because if I would have just said, okay, well, just make sure they're all fresh, well, that would have done zero. It had zero impact. So sometimes you have to be.
I think Christians have become a little soft.
Oh, brother, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, that's why, again, part of the training we do with guys, right? We're helping them level up to break through because we think, okay, we want to be nice. Well, Jesus wasn't nice all the time.
No, not when he went into the temple.
No, he was very direct. He called people fools. He was very, very direct. And he showed love when needed in different ways, though. Sometimes his loving rebukes were the way that he was loving. Right? He lovingly rebuked somebody. Right. So it's like, man, we get it wrong. Like, if somebody's not making the cut, be direct. If somebody shows up late, tell them, hey, by the way, you're showing up late. You're disrespecting other people's time. Like, we can be direct, and Christians have gotten this idea like, no, we just need to be really, really, really nice and sensitive to everything. Well, it's creating a bunch of overly sensitive Christians where everything's offending. We had a guest come on, Brant Hansen. He has a book called Unoffendable. And it's just all about how Christians have become, they're offended by everything. Yeah. I mean, that's offensive to me. It's like, well, get over it.
Get over it. Yeah.
You know, it's like, stop being so sensitive. Like, come on, like, really, really great guest. So yeah, that's interesting. So I love the directness. That's powerful. So you intentionally created a moment of pain, right? And discomfort. So you could have a lasting impression, right? So they wouldn't make that mistake again. That is so good. That was.
Thank you. Well, again, it goes back to you saying earlier, you know, the pace, you know, speed, being able to get things done quickly and efficiently. And, you know, and I just find I'm not a guy that walks around taking notes. I don't do that. No. I just take action, right? If I'm having to take notes, then how long am I going to have on my notepad? You know, if I'm in a meeting and somebody brings something up about an issue, I'll just let's call it right now. Or let's take care of it right now. Call them right now. Get it done. And most people that work for me, when I ask them to get something done, if I ask them when do I want it done, they always will say yesterday, right? Meaning now, and I've been in business, and I'm intentional about doing business with people that I like and respect. I often will say that. And so I only do business with people that I like and respect, and that, have a likeness and respect back towards me, because business is hard. Problems are going to happen. And when the problem happens, it's important to have a good enough relationship with someone to be able to overcome it. I'm not perfect. I'm going to screw up. They're going to screw up. We're both going to screw up. Let's be adults. Let's work through it. Let's figure out the solution. So when I call someone, they answer their phone. I like that, and so I just feel like that too gives us a big advantage.
Let's talk about standards for a moment, because basically what you described earlier was a very high standard, right? You have it sounds like you have high standards for your restaurants.
Very high standards.
Yeah. What, where did that come from, and how do you keep that high standard with team members that with our current culture, there is a lot of sensitivity. And so how do you hold a high standard?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the standard is the standard, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not the standard. It's the ability to hit the standard every day with the team that we have have in place.
Yeah.
And I found that just again, it goes back to the truth and the accountability part of it. But addressing it immediately, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
And I know I keep beating up HR, but if you have a review with the manager, and I said this just the other day too, if you have to have a review once a year or twice a year or quarterly, whenever it is, why do you have to save up all this information to unload on a person every quarter or every 6 months? Why can't you just say it as it happens? If there's a problem, address it. If you got an issue with me, let's talk about it. If I have an issue with you, I promise you, I'm not going to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to address it immediately. Think about a high school football or a football game. Okay. If the player is offsides, what does the referee do? He throws the flag. He doesn't wait till the end of the game and say, hey, next time before the snap the ball, make sure you don't move. Right? He didn't say that. If a player does something, makes a mistake in the game, coaches are usually pretty animated. They get very dramatic to the player. They're inflicting pain on that player to prevent that behavior from happening again.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like we're very good, very expedient in addressing issues as they happen. And because I've created that culture, people know if they screw up, they're usually kind of going to come and tell me, hey, I just want you to know I screwed up. Because I'm going to find out. Might as well call me and let's get the pain over with now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's real key. You can't just I say teachers, we've had teachers work for us, they go through the whole school year. Difference in the restaurant business is the school year ends every day. Every day you're talking. Skylar, I say the same thing over and over and over. I'm like a broken record. I say the same thing. I'm not reinventing a lot of things typically.
Yeah.
It's, hey, your uniform, let's make sure our uniform standards are good. Let's make sure your personal grooming standards are high. Let's make sure we're greeting people at the front door. Let's get people seated quick. Let's pre-bust a table. Let's drop their check quickly. It's the same stuff every day. What changes is the people. I don't have the same people every day. There's always new people coming in, right? And so that's the importance of saying the same thing and making sure the message is clear. We created our 10 commandments to amazing. Okay, so in the 34 years I've been in business, there's 10 things that I feel give us a huge advantage or a huge distinction between ourselves and the competition. The first one is hospitality.
It's amazing how many restaurants get that wrong. I mean, it's ridiculous how many restaurants miss hospitality.
Well, it's really interesting. I always say there's hospitality and there's service. There's management, there's leadership. And like with HR, there's administrative, and then there's the human capital side. So hospitality, no one ever remembers don't often remember everything you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. And so hospitality is really how we make people feel when they come into our business. Service is the details. It's greeted me, got my drink, kept my drink full, pre-bust my table, brought me my food, brought my check. That's service. Hospitality is the engagement, the connection. Did y'all just move here? Oh yeah, we moved. Oh, I have a friend that lives in Newport. Just engaging, right? Connecting. And so hospitality is how we make people feel. It's number one. It's number one for a reason. Number two is personal grooming. personal grooming is important to me. Believe it or not, when I wake up in the morning, I bathe, I brush my teeth, I put on underarm deodorant, I comb my hair, I shave, I make sure my pants are pressed, my shoes are clean, and I expect everyone else that's on my team to model that, because to me, the number one thing we can do to show respect to our customer is take care of our personal appearance, right? It's not about you. It's about how we present ourselves to the customer. And if you don't take good care of your personal grooming habits, you've made that experience about you and your fashionista style, whatever. Okay, well, it's not really about us. It's about serving our customer. And if we love on our customer, give them a great deal of respect and show them hospitality, they're going to be our best friends. And you, as a server, are going to benefit from that. And how awesome is that, right? And so we're a conservative Christian company. If this doesn't feel like the right fit for you, we totally get it. We're not Christian because we're perfect. It's because we're forgiven. We're not here to preach to you. I often say that. It's just that these are principles we believe in. This is how we operate our business. Yeah. And I have an employee meeting. We do meetings twice a day, shiftly meetings. Sure. For morning and in the evening for that shift. But twice a year we do an all-employee meeting. We bring everyone in, and we recognize a lot of people and celebrate success. We don't talk about anything negative at those meetings. If there's anything we need to address, we do it daily. Again, I save up for things that need to be addressed yesterday or today. But I open all those meetings in prayer. And
you do. That's great. So you're openly. When you hire somebody, you're open. Hey, we're a Christian. What's the specific wording that you use?
We're just a conservative Christian company.
We're conservative. You do mention conservative. Yeah, interesting. That's great. So we're a conservative Christian company. So when we hire here at Ruck, we let them know that also, right? We're a Christian-based company.
And then we give them. They really kind of have like a 3-day grace period when we hire them. Yeah. So after 3 days, if they don't know the menu, they haven't learned the POS system, haven't learned the table numbers, or really been very coachable, acclimated, then we just, politely say, hey, this probably isn't the place for you.
Oh, it's so good. You gave them 3 days. Because we know, because we have core values. We give our team two weeks for core values, which is, so easy to learn, but so you give them 3 days.
Well, but you got to remember too, Skylar, in our environment, there's a lot of eyes on them. Yeah. So we can learn a lot quicker. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And there's a lot of physical things that they have to demonstrate that we visibly see that, shine a light on who they're going to be as an employee. Yeah. And again, if they don't, our staff now after 6 years has become really good at helping us identify those things real quick. I mean, they stick out real quick if they don't fill into our culture. Yeah. We micromanage. One of my things is micromanaging culture. So I micromanage. I don't micromanage really anything else besides probably service, right? And our experience that our clients go through. But culture is that one thing where I pay really close attention to all conversations. I'm paying attention to any negativity, any poison, any shifts in responsibility or victimhood, like all the things that like our specific core values that we have. Like that's one of the few things I'm really micromanaging. I think you're on point on that, and I applaud you for that, because I believe if you've got the right culture, everything else tends to kind of work itself out. It does. The right culture are made up with the right people. So we're very particular, like with our team too. Very, very particular. Like, we had to move on from somebody a couple days ago that just wasn't the perfect fit. So I mean, I let my managers know that, like, if at any moment you believe someone's not the right fit, right? You're like, you can tell, and you're not able to work through it to where you can get to the place where you don't feel they're the right fit. It's in best interest for them to let them move on. That way you're not keeping somebody for 6 months or a year that's kind of not the right fit. And then you just took up a year of that person's time. Oh, yeah. And then they could have had another job where they could have been working their way up, but now you're like, they're kind of good, but I don't know. And so it's not fair it's not right to the person. It's it's ethically wrong, I believe, to keep somebody that you don't believe you don't know if they're the right fit, and you're not able to get to that place. And so our team's trained, hey, if they're not the right fit, we got to move on. Let them go find a spot where they are the right fit. Yeah. And then the owner loves that person. Like, this is the most amazing cool. However, at our company, we have really high standards. We're real tight with the way we run. We can know who's the right fit and who's not. And I think, going a step further, the unintended consequences of having someone on your team that may not be the ideal fit. I had a manager tell me once, he was a mentor, and he says, for every day you have a manager on your team that shouldn't be on the team, it'll cost you a week of sales. And I'm like, that's probably true, because of the direction they give our team, which that team then delivers back to the customer experience, right? You can never really know when a stone hits the water, the ripple, how far does it travel? And so when we have someone on our team that doesn't represent culture, that could have a huge ripple effect. And so getting them in the right place.
100%.
May not be with us.
Yes.
That's okay.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's a great conversation because I think that's one of the hindrances of building a great company is people holding on to the wrong people. It really prevents their growth. They're not able to work on.
But it goes back to what you said about, people, Christians today, sensitivity.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to offend them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, hey, life's hard, buddy. It ain't easy. Ain't nothing easy. It's hard being successful. It's hard being not successful. Pick your hard. I'm going to choose to be successful and
that's good.
Be great at that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So good. That's why I moved to Texas right there. I hope you're enjoying this video. I'm the founder of Rise Up Kings, the largest faith-based personal development organization in the country. And it's our mission to reach as many people as possible to help them live lives of excellence, all to glorify God. We do this through our content that you're watching now. We do this through our seminars. So if you're enjoying this, please subscribe and share. Let's get back to the video. We want more Christian business owners to be more bold in their faith, to be willing to pray in the workplace, to be willing to have a Bible verse sign at their front door, to be willing to just be open about their faith versus, Well,
I believe too that there isn't any sin God can't overcome. I mean, we see it every day. There are a lot of broken people that commit their life to Christ, and He heals the brokenness. And some of those things are just brokenness.
Yeah.
And and the world has accepted a lot of those, and I have a lot of customers that are coming that have alternative lifestyles. Yeah. It's not my position to judge. I'm going to provide them amazing hospitality. We're going to love on them. It's going to be great. But I still, just because I own a business doesn't mean I deny my moral compass and deny my faith as to who I am as a person. That's who I am. That's put my faith in God, and I'm going to live that out in my business and in my daily life, and just try to be a good example. And
what would you, as we start to kind of wrap it up, what is how many kids do you have?
3.
Okay. How many of them work with you?
Just 1.
Okay.
My son's going to work at the ice cream shop, but he's worked for me a little bit off and on, but he plays football at Oregon. That's like a full-time job.
Okay. So what's some advice for people that are looking to integrate faith in the workplace? Like what's that integration? We've kind of talked about what that integration looks like, but what would be if someone's on the edge, right? They maybe have never brought faith, or they don't pray with their team. They've really just separated it. What are a couple pieces of advice for people that are wondering, hey, I would like to bring more faith?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I have a very good friend, Kelly Shackelford, the president and CEO of First Liberty. And Kelly's kind of coached me up on this. And, I think I would, number one, make sure I pray about it, make sure I think about it. And if your business has been one where it's really been kind of anti-Christian, or maybe not one that really embraces a lot of Christian principles, I would be very cautious about the way you start incorporating that. I think you have to have a good strategy. In fact, I would seek wise counsel, maybe from someone at First Liberty, seriously, about that, because if you've been a business that's kind of operated in the ways of the world, and then all of a sudden you just start throwing faith into your business, it could have a significant backlash and a negative effect. I, from the beginning, have been pretty bold and pretty straightforward about my faith, and so I don't really get a whole lot of pushback about it because it's just what we do. It's just part of our culture. Right? So I'm actually going to a conference tomorrow called Accelerate at Gateway Church.
Oh, yeah.
And it's basically a conference that helps men to become equipped with how they can incorporate faith into their business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm eager to go to that. You know, Dr. Phil's going to be there. John Maxwell's going to be there. Robert Morris, James Morris, Steve Doolin are all going to be speaking. And I'm eager to get some bits of information out of that. But there's lots of resources on it. But if you're, you know, already feeling like your organization, everybody's a Christian on your team, and you just really haven't embraced and adopted a lot of principles, you know, I think that changes your position a little bit. It's easier for you to go out and kind of press in a little bit more. But
I think there needs to be some maturity around it for sure.
There definitely needs to be some maturity.
Usually the advice I give is really thinking through the right way to start to integrate that process, right?
Yeah, and I would also say that I would make sure that my own convictions are aligned, right? And that my life's in order. I would want to go out and start promoting, you know, all this faith at my business if I got drunk every night. You know, I stopped drinking 1.5 years ago, and I've never been a big drinker. Just never really does much for me. You know, so I'm not saying I'll ever drink, but
what was the reason you decided to stop drinking?
I did it for health reasons.
Yeah.
I'd gone and gotten a physical, and I was a little overweight. I was 25 pounds, 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And I just maybe didn't feel as good. And, but I did it for that. And, so anyway, and again, if I'm one that's out there saying, you know, put my faith in God, I want to try to live my life in a way that gives him glory. And, hey, I got my own issues. I'm not perfect at all, but I just try to get better every day and try to, you know, do the best I can and encourage other people, and kind of gives me confidence. You know?
Yeah, it's inspiring. Our mission at Rise Up Kings is to awaken a generation of men who lead themselves, their families, and their businesses at the highest level to glorify God. So if the way they lead themselves, right, glorifies God or does not glorify God. And so like a big part, we have actually an event going on right now. I was doing some training a couple hours ago. And part of that was around living out your purpose and what that looks like and how to live out your purpose in your business. And then also, like, how do you live in a way? Part of the Great Commission is go, right? So it's go out into the world, convert or baptize people, and then be disciple others or teach others, right? And so sometimes the role that we play is only for in the beginning is going. So what is going? Going is the way you live your life. It's the way you show up in the world. Is your life glorifying God, or do people look at it and go, if that's what it means to be a Christian, it doesn't jive? Or is it, hey, look at Marty B, look at this guy, the way if that's what it means to be a Christian, I would like that. Like, that's fantastic. Like, so the way we live, does it glorify God? Is it attractive? Are people attracted to that? Or are we overweight? Are we in massive debt? Are we abusive? Are we lacking passion? Like, yeah.
You know, it's interesting, Skylar. I had a couple of things happen last week, and some convicting things, and I made some mistakes. One of the mistakes I made is I said some things verbally to one of our servers that wasn't amazing. I used profanity, and I've since
out of anger, out of frustration.
Yes, it was a whole situation. But anyway, I was wrong. Number one, I was wrong. I apologized to her about it. I told her I felt terrible about it. But we had a customer overhear me and emailed in and sent out a complaint.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it, and I my first thought was, she's right. And so I owned it, and I sent her an email back, and I just said, number one, thank you. Thank you for confronting that. Thank you for saying it. I was totally wrong. I let my emotions get the best of me. And, you know, we have a good culture, you know, our people work hard. And I said I'd failed to honor our team the right way. And so they never responded to me. Most of the time they don't respond, but I at least owned it. And then the next day on the way to church, my wife was trying to tell me how to drive. That ever happened to y'all?
Yeah.
And
Of
for some
course.
reason,
Oh, yeah.
I just got pissed off. And I told her to shut up. in front of my mother-in-law. and it's on the way to church. Isn't that terrible? It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And so I go into church with this on my heart. And I get out of church and I started the video. I go, listen, before I drive off, I just want to apologize. And so I did. And I had a great day after that. And they forgave me. But, sometimes you screw up, and I try to own those things. But it was a terrible day because I just felt like I was spending 24 hours doing is apologizing for my screw ups. And that's not bad. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to apologize often.
Yeah.
But if I screw up and I make a mistake and I say things I shouldn't say, I got to own that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at my meeting on Wednesday, I publicly, called myself out.
Yeah.
And apologized, to my team too. And I did that because I want them to have, number one, the freedom and the liberty to screw up if they need to, if it happens.
Yep.
And then to own it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get upset with someone that, it's easy not to screw up, Skylar, if you never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
When you're busy doing stuff, all that you're just going to screw up.
Yeah.
And I screw up, right? And it's because I'm constantly I'm doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to screw up. And there may be some casualties along the way. But if it happens, well, as I said earlier, that's a good way for me to continue to invest in the relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the confrontation, I have to confront myself and own that and make that right. And then I hope that behavior, gives our people freedom to do that too.
Yeah, that was incredible. So much value that was just spoken right there. I feel like the time that I've had the best connection with my team is when I've been real. Because there's so many leaders that put on the mask and the facade, that they have it all together, and so their followers or the people that are working for them, they don't get a chance to see the real authentic version. And so that's why I love it when pastors are real.
Yes.
It's the most incredible thing to me when a pastor can go up on stage and say, hey, I've struggled with lust at times. Like, wow, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all human.
Yeah, 100%. So it's just the most, so you just sharing that, I think that's the transparent leadership and authentic leadership is living out your wins and your losses openly. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that's very, inspiring, very inspiring.
And we have big egos and we have a lot of pride and it's hard for us to do that. But vulnerable is not bad. That's a good thing. Yeah. Right. Be vulnerable sometimes.
It is good. And it's difficult, right? A lot of guys, depending on how they were raised.
That's right.
And in general, right, we want to protect ourselves. So vulnerability exposes ourselves. I do a lot of work around that. And so like human beings, we have an innate, self-protection mechanism. And so we're always trying to protect ourselves. And so anytime vulnerability is full exposure, like intimacy is vulnerability. So intimacy is into me, you see. So we're having an intimate conversation. I'm getting to see inside of you, right? And so, but the only way someone can see inside is if it's shared, is if it's opened up, is if that vulnerability is there. And there's so much power in vulnerability. And so as like leaders, like we have an opportunity, we can create intimacy with our team or our wife by sharing stuff we maybe normally wouldn't want to share. Yeah. And that creates intimacy. And like that's what relationships are all about, is intimacy, which is challenging for me. Right, I grew up and had a lot of insecurities. And so you don't share your fears with your buddies. Yeah. When you're 13 years old, you pretend like you have no fears and so it's like, it's relearning, okay, I can share my fears with my wife. I can share fail with my team. Right.
I love that you have that relationship with your wife to do that. And I'm pretty good at, my wife and I have had some pretty serious conversations, and it's usually, I'm the one stimulating it. She doesn't usually call the meeting. Yeah. I was like, hey, I really want to visit about something. Can we talk about it? And I can always tell it makes her nervous, right? But it's always so healthy. And, I've been married 29 years in August, and just marriage is like life. It's always evolving and
It is.
always trying to get better. She's different than when we were married. I'm different now. In fact, what I love about the journey that I've been on is going from where I was 6 years ago or even 34 years ago to where I am now. The process of becoming a different person. It's like a snake shedding its skin, or you're becoming a new person. That's what I love about business and entrepreneurship, is that you're constantly becoming, hopefully, a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Most highly successful entrepreneurs are good people,
Yeah.
but they've had to become that through the journey and through the mistakes and the confrontations and all those challenges. You know, at some point you have to embrace humility. Like, hey, I can't handle it all on my own. And so I'm becoming a totally different person now than I was, you know, yesterday, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, I could tell you love it. You're leaning in. You're leaning into the pain, the challenge, the discomfort of it. That's great, man. I love it. It's inspiring. It's I'm on that same journey, and I hope I continue till the day I die to learn, to reflect, right, to continue to evolve. Spiritual formation, something that I really believe in, which spiritual formation is the development of our soul through regular interaction and connection with God, and through that daily reading of the Bible, through prayer, through this journey, God just shifts your soul slowly, and it's this we call it spiritual formation, and it's profound. And so I think entrepreneurship's one of the best personal development programs out there, right? You get to just continue to fail and learn. And then the spiritual development side is, right, staying in the Word and the Bible, and like those two things that kind of create incredible human beings, right, when they walk away. But again, my hope is, that I continue the reflection process, like you're continuing. I want to be until I die. I journal. So I journal, and that's how I start to get reflections on how I'm showing up or what emotion I'm feeling. My journaling usually starts out with, what am I feeling right now? I'll put, insecure or frustrated or whatever it may be. And then I kind of process through, like, well, why am I feeling that? Well, I got triggered by my wife. And then I work through it, and I'm able to like kind of self-reflect and then process, like, okay, I'm going to do that differently next time. Or, hey, I was mean to a team member, or I'm being closed off to people for some reason. Like, why am I doing that? And so, the journey of like your reflection, right? As you're in real time experiencing a fail, feedback on it, right? And then you're able to like process through it. It's the journey. And what's powerful is the associations. That's why this is cool. We're having this conversation. Like when you're around other people that are doing that, it's what creates a great community of guys.
I agree.
Right? When they're reflecting, they're growing, they're learning. It's like, that is such a cool community.
Well, and for you, Skylar, and for both of us, the devil's going to try to attack us every day. And so whatever that trigger was, like with me at church or with me at Marty B's the other night, devil's, he's constantly coming at us. Yeah. That's why I wear this wrist bracelet, Ephesians 6:10 through 17. I feel like every day I wake up putting on the full armor of God and being prepared to handle whatever challenges coming our way, whether it be a trigger or something that causes me to behave a certain way. We're a target. We're doing things that glorify God's kingdom. And the more we do that, the more God's going to bless us. But also, the more the devil's going to try to attack us. And maybe he's not coming for us. Maybe he's coming for our family. Maybe he's coming at our base. He's gonna find a way to get a stronghold on us, and we just always got to have our dukes up, ready to go.
There's some power, and as we kind of close out, as you're building and continuing to be the leader and stepping into the leader that you're becoming, right? And because I can see your influence continuing to expand exponentially. If you're on a powerful path, it's important to have prayer, people praying for you. There's a really good YouTube video about this guy, a warlock in Africa, and about the spiritual oppression in Africa. And he goes through this whole story. This guy was in charge of like 4,000 witches and demonic people, and they would keep purposeful oppression in Africa in different villages all around. And he's in charge of all of them, and he shares his journey of how he found Christ. Really wild video. And he's like, and basically he goes into, he couldn't attack this one guy because supposedly there was 20 women that were praying specifically and keeping this actual spiritual barrier. And so like he couldn't get into the guy because there was this barrier. And so the moral of it was, or the summary was like, our own prayers for ourselves will work, but really where the power is other people praying for us will help keep the demonic attacks down and prevent those. So as you're journeying, I'll be praying for you.
Thank you for that.
Sure. And
Thank you.
anytime
Likewise.
anybody else is willing to pray for you, like bring it on, baby. Right? I'll take.
Never
that's
had
what-
too much.
I know. I'll take all the prayers I can get. I don't want. Right. I don't want to fall. I don't want to stumble in a way that destroys all the work that God's doing with everything. Right. Because I don't want to be that guy. So I'm like, keep praying for me, man. Help. Help make sure I stand strong with God holding me up. Man, I love it. Thank you for coming over here in the rain and just showing up. I know you're busy and
Thank you
super
for having me.
That was a great conversation. So appreciate
I
you.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Skylar.
Thanks, brother. So anyway, we do a lot of at our events. We give away a lot of stuff, and remember the shirt that we said, "Pain is the path," right? So we're big into introducing pain and helping guys have a new relationship with it. And so we have a gift for you. It's one of those 3 briefcases, and one of them is some nail boards. You ever stood on nail boards?
No.
Okay.
I don't know that I want that one.
The second one is an ice bath.
All
or a
right.
cold plunge, which we have in our actual office. And the third one is it's $100 cash just for fun. So you get to pick one of the briefcases. Okay, so go ahead and stand up. Let's do this.
Yeah, go ahead, pick one.
All right. Let's see what happens here.
Okay.
I know which one I want. See which one I get.
You can shake them too if you like.
Oh,
No, I'm shaking it.
Oh, no.
How about this
No,
one?
no, shake.
You want that one?
This must be the
All right,
$100.
amazing. So, open it up. What'd you get?
$100.
Oh, we got it. There we go.
The ice bath and this, they weigh the same.
I was lift them. That was yes. How about
Awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.